You're listening to Crime Wine, the daily podcast that pairs perfectly with silence and suspense. My granddaddy was a Texas Ranger during the Great Depression, a time when the lines between survival and sin blurred for too many. He died when I was young, so most of his stories came through my father. But this one always stuck. It wasn't just a tale of justice, it was a glimpse into something far darker. Back then, Cochran County had turned into the bank robbery capital of West Texas. Small towns like Morton, Whiteface, and Bledsoe were hit so often, the locals stopped locking their vaults. They just left them open to save the hinges. Some criminals tried running west into New Mexico. The feds were waiting, but others simply vanished. No trace, no car, no cash trail. One case involved a robber who panicked and shot a clerk in cold blood. Tips came flooding in, but one stood out. A man swore he saw the getaway car parked outside a place called the Yellow Rose Motel, so Granddaddy drove out there. The owners were a kindly old couple, said business had dried up since '29. No records, no questions. Pay 50 cents, pick a room, check out whenever. They let the Rangers search the place top to bottom. Nothing suspicious, nothing found. Just two friendly faces and a worn-out roadside inn. But weeks later, another tip came, same motel. A witness saw a man carrying a bag identical to one stolen in a liquor store hit. Again, Granddaddy visited. Again, the couple smiled and shrugged. No memory, no guest list, no help. A third robbery, a third visit, this time a lie. The old man admitted speaking to the suspect, but pretended not to remember who he was. Granddaddy showed a photo. The man faltered. Said he hadn't looked long enough to know. But my grandfather saw it in his eyes. He was lying. They didn't arrest him, not yet. They needed more. My grandfather's partner believed they had the scam figured out. The motel wasn't just shelter, it was a service. Criminals paid thousands to disappear, and the couple got a cut. The Rangers just had to prove it. Then came the break. A jailed bandit, bitter about being left behind, spilled everything. His partner had taken the cash and vanished, straight to the Yellow Rose. Said the couple helped fugitives disappear in exchange for money. My granddaddy's partner nearly jumped out of his boots. "I knew it!" he yelled. Still, no one knew how they made them vanish. That secret kept the cuffs off. So they came up with a plan. They sent in a young ranger undercover, someone the couple had never met. He played the part of a desperate criminal on the run. And it worked. The couple promised him safe passage to Mexico for a few $100. No questions asked. They staged it all. A fake news bulletin, a screeching car, a man with a duffel full of fake cash. From a water tower half a mile away, my granddaddy and his partner watched through binoculars as the old man helped the undercover ranger hide his car and let him out of sight. Then, silence. They didn't wait any longer. The Rangers came in heavy. Sheriffs, federal agents, no search warrant, no knocking, just boots through doors. The motel was torn apart, but nothing. Until the dogs started barking behind the garage. They circled a rusted-out truck, noses low to the ground. Underneath it was a rug covered in dust and gravel. When they peeled it back, they found a heavy iron hatch set into the earth. They pried it open. What they found underneath wasn't just a bunker. It was a tomb. There was a blood drain, a hose, a workbench, jars of chemicals. But the horror wasn't just in the killing, it was in the care. The old couple had preserved the bodies, varnished them, combed their hair, dressed them in suits, then posed them in a furnished room around a poker table, as if they were just passing time on a long, quiet night. Books, records, a radio, even a clock ticking. 7 men sat there, silent, still, perfectly preserved. The old couple claimed they weren't sadistic, claimed they killed only fugitives, said they never would have harmed the ranger if they'd known, but he revealed himself too late. The old man hit him with a hammer. By the time they opened that hatch, the blood had already been drained from his body. They said they couldn't bury the bodies, too risky. So they created this, a place where bad men stayed forever, a mock saloon, a shrine, a lie dressed up as mercy. They found 4 more bodies than the Rangers were even looking for, men with bounties, men with secrets, all vanished into the yellow rose. There was no trial. The old man died of a heart attack in his cell. The woman passed in her sleep the night before her arraignment. Cancer, they said. My granddaddy never forgave himself for sending his partner in first, said it should have been him. That guilt followed him to the grave, and it's followed our family ever since. You know what still chills me? They never saw themselves as killers. They believed they were doing good. My husband had remained close to his childhood friend, let's call him John, well into adulthood. They'd been inseparable since elementary school. When I met John, I thought he was kind, docile, and incredibly wholesome, the kind of guy who could get along with anyone. Dependable, trustworthy, genuinely good. In a world where real friendships are rare, we felt lucky. John was like family. We were all nerds at heart, bonding over retro games, tech, and home-built computers. He'd often swing by, help us troubleshoot our setups, and swap little coding tricks with my husband. But something about him always puzzled me. John was single, always had been. Not once had we heard of a girlfriend, a date, nothing. As the years passed, it became a quiet curiosity between my husband and me. We wondered, was he gay, afraid to come out because of his conservative family? We never asked. It wasn't our business. Then John moved, 3 hours away, into a house owned by his sister, who wasn't ready to retire yet. At first we assumed it was a step toward independence, but that wasn't the case. And soon after the move, he vanished. No calls, no visits, no online activity. My husband missed him deeply. I did too. So I decided to reach out and reignite the connection. When he picked up the phone, it was like no time had passed, at least for him. We made plans to visit. His new neighborhood was oddly remote, tucked away from everything. The house looked unkempt, cluttered, more like a bunker than a home. He had declined a promotion at work, said he didn't want the added hours. His room looked like a teenager's den, messy, wires everywhere, computer parts scattered across the floor. He mentioned his sister still visited every other weekend, and he resented the intrusion on his privacy. Something felt off. At dinner, I finally asked why he'd gone silent. He brushed it off, claimed he'd been busy with the move, said he'd never intended to lose touch. He was polite, but there was a coldness behind the words. They felt rehearsed, scripted. When we asked if he was seeing anyone, he replied that finances were tight and it wasn't the right time. Reasonable answers, too reasonable. And yet my instincts screamed otherwise. He wasn't the same. We drove home unsettled. Still, we hoped the reconnection would stick. It didn't. Time passed. John faded again. But on social media I noticed something strange. Though mostly inactive, he would occasionally like and comment on posts from Nickelodeon. Innocent enough, maybe. But the tone of his comments was peculiar. They read like a teenager's, excited about episodes, eagerly anticipating the next one. It felt out of place for a man pushing 40. I didn't mention it. Maybe I should have. Years later I made another effort. He was now back in his childhood home, caring for his sick mother. When I called to meet up, he was evasive, said he wasn't settled yet. But he had his old room, his old house. What was there to settle? He asked to postpone the visit. And then, one day, my husband called me downstairs, pale as a ghost. I rolled my eyes. He could be dramatic sometimes. But when I saw his face, I rushed. He pointed at the TV, a courtroom, shackles, orange jumpsuit, and then, John. I froze. It was him. His full name, clear as day. The news anchor's voice cut like glass. John had been arrested in connection with one of the largest child trafficking rings ever dismantled. A years-long investigation. CSAM found through a dark web sting operation. My breath caught in my throat. We couldn't look away. Police had raided both his mother's and sister's homes. Hundreds of files on his devices. A confirmed DNA match. He was facing over 30 years. He'd be an old man by the time he ever saw daylight again, if he ever did. We were in shock. His sister scrubbed all traces of him, removed his name from her home, deleted him from social media. It was clear his family believed the evidence. They disowned him. We did the same. We deleted his contact, erased every trace from our lives. We didn't reach out to his family. We never visited him. But the question still lingered. The betrayal broke my husband. He became guarded, suspicious of everyone. How could he not be? How do you trust again after realizing the person who sat in your living room, who played board games with you, who shared your jokes and life stories, was a monster? John was never who we thought he was. He wore a mask so perfect, so ordinary, that we never saw what lay beneath. But now we know, and will never forget.